Welcome back, everybody, for another episode of AllDay Edify. I'm Corey, and this is my lovely wife, Tasha.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us on today. So, we're still in our Mindset Change for Men series. And so, today, our topic is we're going to be talking about how can a man's decision to change his mindset impact his financial future?
Absolutely. We're seeing in communities all across America where people are struggling to gain some relevance and some value and some stability. We're seeing entrepreneurs being born in challenging times. So much is going on. And what we're actually doing is we're seeing investing in all different places, in the stock market, in cryptocurrency. And so real important that we understand some of the things that have actually evolved in the last couple of years. Right. There's a study, and we want to go ahead and show that slide where if you could see that, if you could walk us through that there, Tasha.
So, these are some of the things that impacted us financially from 2020. And so, one of the things is the global pandemic. What you see here is we're still in that pandemic right now. Another big thing is a lot of stock market volatility, and then also a very high unemployment rate.
Absolutely. So on top of the stock market volatility, the high employment rate, we're also seeing record highs in the U.S. savings rate, historically low interest rates, which is making it favorable for home buyers. A lot of people selling their houses because it's a great opportunity to cash in that equity. Also a spotlight on racial injustice and wealth inequality. We're talking about an imbalance in terms of who's being able to access financial opportunities, prosperity opportunities, as well as a lot of leniency provisions for financially distressed consumers. Things like waivers with having to pay your rent, which is impacting landlords as well in a negative way. Waivers on your mortgage payment, a number of things.
Absolutely. And so, and when you're talking about those waivers, some of the things that, they were able to help consumers with as well as utilities, student loans, they were able to postpone those payments and things like that. So there has been a lot of leniency in terms of, consumers, getting relief from that,
Yep.
especially with the pandemic. And
Yeah.
so today, what we're going to do is we have a special guest with us on today. We have a guest who specializes in providing guidance and direction in financial matters. And so, in fact, he is a financial strategist. And so, a financial strategist is someone who specializes in analyzing financial data to make credible recommendations about what financial actions to take.
All right. All right, so we have today with us Tim Brown, who works out of the Atlanta, Georgia area. All right, Tim, great to have you with us on the show today. If you could, please, you are able to best introduce yourself and describe to us what it is that you do, the service you provide.
Well, good morning, Corey and Tasha. Thank you so much for having me on this morning to share this information. I love this topic because it's vital. Financial literacy is such an important subject matter that is often overlooked and underaddressed. So my name is Tim Brown. I am originally from Flint, Michigan, but I currently live in Lawrenceville, Georgia, where I've been here now since 2003. A little bit about my background. I am an operations supervisor for one of the school systems here in the Atlanta, Georgia area. Have a degree in organizational management, and I'm a certified financial coach for Dave Ramsey Institute. But I've been involved in finance for a better part of over 20 plus years, which it was my original major and something that I learned about as a child through my mother. Been around it. So pretty much in my entire life, been involved in stocks and mutual funds and things like that. So it's a passion of mine.
Gotcha. Tim, I have to say that you're one of the first people I ever heard use the word residual income. So this is a little while back. And so I began to start looking at the value of that word as well. So we want to dive right in, Tim. First question I have for you. Why does this topic and providing support to men in the community mean so much to you?
First, I am a man, right? And I understand that, biblically, we are supposed to be the heads of the household. And so for me, it's been a mission that, something that God has placed on me to share, educate, inspire and coach other men, because I was one who know that when my finances are off, then my whole mood is off, and that affects everybody around me. And as men, in order to be the leaders that we are called to be, we have to have our financial houses in order. We have to be, not just the husband or the head of, but we have to be financially fiscal. We got to be the financial head, the providers, right? For me, everything is biblical, and so because God has blessed me with some information, man, it's for me, it's important to give back because we're blessed to be blessings.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you and I share the same value systems as well. There was a study done, and the resulting data can be found on his website, financialplanningassociation.org. All right. But in this study, it found that financial literacy was lowest in the areas of comprehending risk and uncertainty. Additionally, respondents with the lowest financial literacy levels had more precarious finances, such as just difficulty making ends meet typically from month to month, difficulty paying off student loans and credit card payments in full and on time, and having no retirement savings. What do you think about that?
I definitely understand it. Watching my grandmother, and this is how we were taught. Like, we taught from the people that we're around. So my grandmother used to put, that $2 under the mattress, right? And then we were taught to go to school, right? Get a good education so we can come out of the fields and things like that. And then we're told to save money. And when we understand that the banking industry, when you save money in there, if you look at the return on your investments in there, it's very little. We weren't actually taught how to invest into the stock market, how to invest in, how to analyze risk of, and return on investments. Those things aren't taught in your house if your parents aren't doing it. And in middle school and high school, those things aren't taught. And so if you only taught to go to school, to get your education so that you can get a good job, then you don't understand financial literacy, right? We understand how to work and we understand how to make money.
Right.
But the other part of that, the financial literacy part, is how to make those funds that we earn, how to make those earn money on top of it. And that's where the wealth is.
Absolutely.
Wow. So when do you believe is the most critical time to initiate impactful change?
Well, the most critical time was yesterday, right? But we can't go back in the past. And so it's today. It's right now. It's, I was always taught to go, what I'm saying? We're going to make mistakes. And one of the things that we can't be afraid of is making mistakes, right? Make mistakes, make them early, make them often, because that's how you learn. But if you don't do anything, then you don't, nothing from nothing leaves nothing. And so the most critical time is today, right? If we could have started at 20 or 21, great, right? We could start at 30, great. If you could start at 40, great. But whatever age you are, is start today, because we're going to Lord willing, we're going to get to 62 and 72, right? And we want to have those finances in order so that we don't have to work till we die.
Absolutely. So you made mention of something. You said that you learned some of these things from your parents, from your mom specifically. And
Right.
So the thought process of that being such a historical pattern, not to say that your dad was negligent or anything, I'm sure, but that your mom was always aware and she grew in those areas. How much do you think it's important for men to look at young men, young women, to look at their father specifically and to be able to learn these things from their father?
Ooh, man, that's so impactful, right? One of the things that I do with my son is, I let him see me in business, right? So what I learned from my dad is hard work. I learned, the importance of going to work every single day, being there on time, bringing your finances home. And so I did learn those things from my dad. And so the male figure it's so critical in the household. And even if you're not in the household, because I'm not in the household with my son, but I get him, and I talk to him and I speak to him about things, right? About life, even at 10 years old. And so it's so critical that, and if you don't have that father, then some male figure, mentor, and so giving back as men, and for a lot of these kids that don't have fathers, I think that's such an impactful thing because they have to see that male role model. Nothing against the moms, right? Nothing against the
Right.
women, because the women provide some things. Like my mother provided, me the opportunity to uh, get a good education. That was something that she preached. My dad didn't preach that, right? She made sure that we were in church, and she took me to different business meetings, even as a child. So mom can definitely be impactful on a young man or young woman. I mean, and definitely necessary, but it takes a man and a woman, even if it's not the dad, right? Somebody giving back.
Absolutely. That sounds a lot like balance, man. And I think that's a big part of what we've been missing in our communities, right? Would you agree with that?
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's one of the reasons why, I coach flag football, and used to coach little league baseball. And I get these moms saying thank you for giving up your time to their sons, and so I mean it's definitely something that's necessary.
Absolutely.
And so when you talk about, I know we were talking about how the parents, the dads, the moms, being involved with the children. So the importance of children learning about financial stability, we were looking at the data as well, and it talks specifically about financial education mandates. And so what it says here is there are 21 states that require high school students to take a course in personal finance. And that's an increase in 4 states since 2018. And then there are 25 states that require high school students to take a course in economics, which is an increase of 3 states since 2018. And
Wow.
so, yeah. So, how much do you believe that financial literacy is impacting our communities, whether it's in the urban, suburban, or rural communities?
Oh wow, very impactful. I mean, that's something that when we were coming up, they didn't teach it in school. They didn't teach, any.
On there.
You might have some economic classes to learn about, supply and demand, right? But they taught it from a position of going to get a job and understanding it from your job position. And so, if financial literacy is not taught in schools, right, and if your parents don't understand financial literacy because their parents didn't teach it to them, and their parents didn't teach it to them, then how do you learn it? How do you learn to be smart with your finances? How do you learn to not go out and try to keep up with the Joneses, right? To save, to invest, to not get into debt over your head, right? To to understand these things called mutual funds
Mhm.
and stocks and investments. How do you understand that stuff if it's not taught in the school and your parents don't know? And so if you look at our community, if you go back and people don't want to go back and they want you to forget the past, but there was segregation right up
Mhm.
until the late 60s. And so you had separate, and the schools weren't equal. So my dad, he didn't learn financial literacy in school. My grandfather was a sharecropper. He didn't learn it from him. I was blessed that my mother's grandfather was left some land by the slave family, right? And so he had a general store, and so she got a chance to watch her grandfather, sell crops and different things and food to people in Mississippi. And so she got that taste
Yeah.
right as a young person. And so when she got sent to Detroit to go to college, it was for business. And so I was blessed in that arena, but still, the exposure it was what made me hungry to learn
Mhm.
more and to make finance an important thing, because I'm gonna tell you, I saw it, right? I saw it in my community. Corey and I grew up in the same neighborhood, and I saw it from people who worked at General Motors, where they went to work, got their big cars, but then we saw those people who had retired having to reduce their lifestyle because they had nothing
Yeah.
saved except for their pension. And now there's no pensions.
Yeah.
So we have to learn financial literacy because it's going to impact our families, it's going to impact our community. And you see the communities going backwards. It's because nobody have anything to invest inside the community to keep it viable.
Absolutely. And a lot of times you hit it right on the head, Tim. And a lot of times people are reluctant. They dread the day that they have to retire because they immediately know that they're going to see a drop off in terms of their earnings, a lifestyle change, and it can be dramatic for people. A lot of people, unfortunately, don't live very long after they retire because for a number of different reasons. But I think a part of it is the negative connotation that goes with earning less money if you have not planned and prepared for that season of your life.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because where we come from, and I won't say this, I don't know if it's national or I say it's national, but the jobs, you didn't have to have a high education to have those good paying jobs. And so people worked a lot of hours. And and those weren't easy jobs, but they worked a lot of hours, beat up on their selves, didn't take care of their nutritional, their bodies from the inside. And so you work all those years and you beat up yourself, but not having that financial literacy to understand, okay, let me invest.
Yeah.
And so I could retire, even at 30, years to be able to retire. But man, we see so many people working 40 and 50 years.
Yeah. To this day.
Not being ready.
Yep, absolutely. And so I have another question I want to throw at you, Tim. From your perspective, then, how would you go about encouraging men who are husbands, men who are fathers, single, head of households? How would you go about encouraging them to change their approach to financial strategizing?
The first thing is to be open-minded, right?
Mm-hmm.
The mind is like a parachute. If it's not open, it won't work. And so being open to learning, and there's nothing wrong with learning. I mean, for me, I say I want to learn something until I die. When I stop learning, put some dirt on me, right?
Right.
So for me to be able to change, I was open. And when a friend invited me to go take a look at some information in a seminar, I went. I would go to the different seminars to just see if it was something that I could learn from. It was something that I could glean some information from. And so a lot of people, we want to stay inside of our comfort zone, right? And I know it's comfortable because we used to doing those things in a certain way. But when you look at it and you say, okay, well, I want change. I want my finances to change. I want my life to change. I want my lifestyle to change. But you have to be open to change. And it starts there. And when you openly change, you can put yourself in front of good information. And I'm gonna tell you, the Bible said, look, when you seek, you shall find, right?
Right.
And so when you start looking for information, for me, when I was looking and hungry for information.
Gotcha.
So in that aspect, now that you mentioned that, I don't know, I just kind of see a pattern of men in certain demographics to where they may feel intimidated by trying to, get out of their comfort zone and things like that. So is there something, something to kind of encourage the different demographics that's kind of intimidated by saying this is not my thing, or they may feel like they're out of place or something like that, and so I know some men may feel like they're just intimidated by it. They may want to do it, they may have that mindset to want to do it. So how would they, how is there a different type of approach that they can take in that regard?
That's a great question, because that's one of the things I wanted to allude to. Ego, man, ego edging God out. I mean, one of the things that for me, when I want to learn, when you learn, you got to put your ego in your pocket and sit on that. That's something that I always heard, right? Be open, get around good people. If we can't change the people that we're around, then you got to change the people we're around, and being a part of, people like Corey and you guys, just looking and looking for mentors. I mean, social media right now is such a huge place where we can meet new people and just find mentors in the church. Maybe somebody in your local church, but there's somebody that's around that, you know, if you don't know them, hey, ask. If you see somebody that's doing really well, ask them, you know, what do you do? How did you, you know, what can I read? They say if you want to hide something from, you know, our community, put it inside a
In the
book.
book.
Put it inside a
I've
book.
heard
And
that
I don't
before.
know
Yeah,
if you can see behind me,
unfortunately.
but I have plenty of books, you
Yeah.
know, and that's books are there, seminars are there, YouTube. And you can YouTube and you can, you
I mean,
know,
they even have
find
books
anything.
online.
Gotcha.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
It's out there. Information is out there. We just have to look and seek and put our ego aside. And then that's one of the things that if we don't, then we're not going to be able to change anything.
Absolutely, I agree. And so that actually brings me to another question, Tim. Good talking to you, man. I'm telling you, I feel like we could go hours just, you know, kind of chatting and chopping it up on different ways for us to be able to glean and to share with other people ways to grow in this particular area of a life. But the question that I have for you is, and it's kind of taboo among in the religious circles and among in the church and the Christian community. I am a religious leader myself, and so but it's important to me that there, you know, individuals who I come into contact with are able to access this information. My question to you is, how much do you believe people, specifically men, who are take on the role of being a shepherd, should they feel any responsibility at all for facilitating growth in this area of the lives of the people that they lead?
You want to get some people in trouble out here. I love it. I love it. I love it because the church is like the center of our community, right? When we grew up, I mean, churches was everywhere on every block, and it's been a hub of safety in our community. It's been a hub of information in the community. So I personally do believe that the shepherd, you know, that's what the shepherd is supposed to do. He's supposed to look out for the sheep. And if it's one lost, right, you leave the 99 and go get that one. And so I personally, I believe that everything started in the church because the people who are believers who believe in that shepherd, they go in there for not just the word, but they're going there for their life. And so I definitely think it's important for our churches and our communities to touch on subjects like finances, to touch on subjects like wellness, to touch on, you know, the debt, you know, to just,
Right.
I mean, just a lot of different areas and not just, you know, feeding the Bible, which, you
Right.
know, is important, right? And then we're
Right.
supposed to study it, you know, on our
Right.
own. But I think that, you know, because we believe in those leaders so much that I think it's important for them to also pour back into the people.
Right. And just to clarify, and that's not to say that a pastor should be responsible for teaching these principles, but just to say facilitating, which is the key word, which is just making it easy, you know, for people to learn things so that is going to benefit them in this area of their lives. You know, and I agree 100% with what you're saying, because I think people are a lot less guarded when they're among, you know, their families that they are part of a congregation with, and they are submitting to the leadership and the teachings that they get from wherever their local community churches that they're a part of.
Absolutely. Now, I have seen, you know, where there have been, you know, people that's gone into the church, right, and done some unscrupulous things, but that's where knowledge comes in. That's where having key people around you, and right, like you said, a pastor shouldn't have to be the one teaching everything because, you know, nobody can know everything. But just
Exactly.
having good people around that you trust, that you can, okay, well, not just because I know you, I put you, but let's look through this thing and let's do a panel. Like, you know, we got to run it like corporations, right? Because
Right.
these people's lives matter.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, again, it's been real good talking with you, Tim, man. I feel like I feel like there's going to be an opportunity for us to have some follow-up discussion and be able to share some different specific nuggets that might be really helpful for the community out there. But in closing, I want to give you 30 seconds to kind of tell us, before we show all your contact information, tell us the most important. You got a book out. Tell us how we can access that book, because you and I have been talking about that, right? You co-authored the book. Tell us a little bit about that. Then we're going to share your contact information and we're going to be deuces.
Well, thank you so much. So my book that I co-authored is called The Path to Self-Mastery. It's available on Amazon and in Kindle version, but we will be having a hard copy. And so if you reach out to me if you want that hard copy, or you can go to Amazon. You can get it free on Kindle on Amazon. But I urge you to read that book because everything starts with mastering yourself. And my specific title is Mastery Begins with Self, right? When you master your mindset, you learn to master your mindset and you understand, look, my ego is not going to help me get to where I need to be. And so that comes with wisdom and praying for wisdom. But when you learn to master yourself, you can master anything, right? And so I love it. I love this. Let's come back, guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anytime you invite me, I'll be back.
Absolutely. And I told you I want the hard copy, man, because I'm constantly taking notes and writing stuff down because I get thoughts when somebody is sharing something they know. So I'm going to have to get with you for the hard copy.
Awesome. Absolutely.
And then, so how can we contact you, for if someone wants to know about financial literacy and things like that?
Okay. So my email is joincoachbrown@gmail.com. They can connect with me on Facebook at Tim Brown. And I know it's a lot of Tim Brown. So I'm in Lawrenceville, Georgia. My LinkedIn is Timothy Brown. As you can see, my Instagram is BrownTims01. And I'll even give my phone number is 678-994-6502. And just contact me. I love to have a conversation. I love to share information, inspire, and encourage.
Absolutely. Great having you with us. Where, of course, here at AllDay Edify, we aim to uplift, inform, and enlighten you.
All day, every day.
Do you provide human services? Are you an entrepreneur that contributes to society? Do you have access to tools and resources that facilitate growth and development? Come be a guest on our show. You can email us at alldayedify@gmail.com or send us a message on our Facebook page at AllDay Edify.